Hi, I'm James, and this is Action and Adventure Tips, the place where content creators can come to learn about things that they want to write about but maybe don't know. Today's lesson, we're going to be talking about clips and magazines. Now, I know most of you probably think they're the same thing. You know, they all feed guns, right? They're not. They're different. Here's the first rule. Clips feed magazines. Okay, that's the real simple part of it. This clip, that's this piece of metal right here. I'll bring it up close. Holding these cartridges is actually used to put inside this magazine. So if clips feed magazines, what do magazines do? Well, they feed the firearm. They're spring-loaded. Inside is a spring here that pushes up the guide. If you can see it, let's see. Pushes the cartridges up, so every time the trigger is pulled on a semi-automatic, the casing is ejected, a new cartridge is fed in. Same thing with the bolt action. They all have springs. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about clips to begin with. Okay, three basic types. The first one being what we call the stripper clip. As you saw, that is right here. It's actually used to feed magazines, or it can feed firearms directly who have an internal magazine, like the old bolt-action rifles that were used by the military during, well, for the U.S. during World War I, and for the rest of the world, World War I and World War II. Okay, so in World War II, the United States used internal magazines with the M1 Garand using this type of clip, what we call an en bloc clip. It holds 8 rounds together en bloc. You feed this into the internal magazine and it fires repeatedly. Invented by a guy named Garand. Actually, funny story is it was based on a different cartridge than was actually used in World War II. And I'll be writing about that in the future. So this actually is holding 7.62 NATO rounds, which are not the rounds designed for the M1. This is actually designed for an M14, but the magazine is for, the clip is for the M1 Garand. And this is what I had for ammunition, and they're roughly the same, but not. And we'll go into that in a later video. Now, the final type of clip that I want to point out is what we refer to as a speed loader. Now, some people say, well, that's not a clip, and others will say it is a clip. The question is, I don't know the answer to it exactly. All I know is that this is used to actually feed a chamber or a cylinder, the revolver cylinder. What you do is you simply insert the cartridges like this, twist it, and the cartridges will drop out, and you throw this behind you, and then you close the revolver, and it's ready to fire. Okay, so that's your basics on clips. Remember, clips feed magazines, magazines feed firearms. So how many different types of magazines are there? Well, there are a bunch. You have tubular magazines, you have internal box magazines, and then you have detachable box magazines. So what's the difference? Well, the tubular one is real simple. It's a tube. You put the cartridges into the tube, and as you work the mechanism, be it a bolt action, a semi-automatic, or a lever action, as the case is here, it actually will feed the cartridges. And let me just, here we go. The way you load this, place it in like that. I don't know if you can see that. This is being fed into the magazine. This part right here. And by the way, this tubular magazine design has existed since 1779 with the, I can't remember the exact name, Garandi, I want to say, Garandoni, Austrian air rifle. It was actually used on the Lewis and Clark expedition in 1804 through 1806. So this is not modern technology. I mean, it is modern in the essence of the last couple of hundred years, 250 or so, but it's been around since that long. The way it works is when you operate the firing mechanism, a round is chambered, and you could probably see that right in there. And now we have a round chambered. The firearm is ready to fire. I don't wish to fire it, so keeping finger outside of trigger, we empty the firearm. If I were to empty it another way, I would fire it, then work the lever. But that's not my option right now. Alrighty. So that's the tubular one. This style, actually, the underbarrel, was developed in 1860 with the Henry repeating rifle. That you've probably seen it like the Winchester 76. You can probably still buy a little Henry now. They're pretty cool looking. There was another one that was actually designed that actually had the tube going through the stock and feeding the mechanism there. That came out also the same year as the Henry repeating rifle in 1860, and that was the Spencer repeating rifle. And that's the one that was actually used by forces during the War of, let's see, I don't want to say War of Northern Aggression because that's not right. The War of Rebellion, I guess, is probably the best term for what we call the Civil War in the 1860s in the United States. So that was used, and it was also used during the Indian Wars in the 1860s through the 1880s. So the magazine was actually had a little hole right here, and you would actually carry tubes filled with cartridges. When you were empty, you would take this part, open it, drop all the cartridges in, close it up, and you lever action, and you were ready to go. And that was it. So that's been around for a while. In 1888, the detached box magazine came out. Here's a simple one, standard AK, M4/M16/AR-15 magazine. This is 30 rounds, standard issue. Back in 1888, the Lee Metford was actually developed, which incorporated a detachable box magazine. And ever since then, they've been taken off like wildfire. Almost all semi-automatic rifles and pistols operate with a detached box magazine. And how you feed this is you use this little thing right here. This is what we call a stripper clip guide, where you attach it to the magazine like this. You insert the stripper clip in and you just push down on this, forcing the cartridges to enter into this spring-loaded box. That's it. Pretty simple. And then you insert that into the firearm and you're ready to go. Now, most of the detached box magazines are 20 to 30 rounds. Although you can get the smaller ones like these little 10 rounders or 15 rounders. You know, they're available. Some states are mandating things less than 10 rounds, which are not utilizing the full capacity of the firearm, but that's a political matter, and we don't talk politics. And you can get them in steel or polymer, believe it or not. So this is a standard magazine used by the military nowadays, and also by a lot of civilians for the AR-15 or the M4. And of course, you have your typical handgun magazine. Once again, there's a spring inside it, pushes the cartridges up, feeds them. Those are the differences. The clip feeds the magazine feeds the firearm. Now, when you're writing or you're creating content, it's okay to say clip or magazine or mag in a conversation. But do not do it in the narrative. The narrative, you're supposed to be precise. You're supposed to be clear. If you're saying clip when you mean magazine, people are going to sit there and go, this guy doesn't know what the heck he's talking about. Oh, by the way, this is a standard little 22. If I can get the magazine out. And that's what that little magazine looks like. So, magazine goes into the firearm. That's what you write about. Make sure that you're using clip and magazine properly in the narrative, but it's okay to flip them around in dialogue because let's face it, people are sloppy and they do it all the time. How did it come about that we started saying clip for magazine? Because the word magazine came around, we actually started using it when the M1911 was adopted by the U.S. Army. That was pretty much standard until World War II. And the reason why it changed? Well, because you had the clip. You put the clip in the magazine. You know, I need 20 clips, bam. And that's how it happened. So, once again, clip feeds magazine feeds firearm. Use it in dialogue interchangeably, but don't use it interchangeably in the narrative. That's it. I hope you like this video. If you do, click the like button. If you don't, click the like button anyhow. Please subscribe. Love to have more subscribers here. Spread the word around. And if you like to follow me, I'm at jamespeet.com. If you have any comments, leave them in the boxes below. If there's something that you think should be covered for other writers, let me know, either in the comments or through my webpage. Stay safe out there.